Hi everybody, it's Peter Zellum's Griniflix Adventure 8. Welcome to another video. Today's video is Leica. I bought the 100 to 300mm f5-6.3 lens. And I bought this just before I went on my Central Australia trip. And the results I was getting were pretty good, but there were some exceptions to the rule where I was thinking, did I make a mistake in buying this lens? And should I have gone for the Leica 90mm to 280mm zoom lens? Leica have lent me the 90 to 280 zoom lens. So now I'll be able to put both those lenses against each other to find out whether I actually made a good decision or a bad decision. Should I also get the 90 to 280mm zoom? For travel, the 100 to 400mm range is a really good range to be able to bring action closer to you, because you sometimes have to be really quick, and also to get those landscape shots, particularly if you're out in the wilderness somewhere. Oh, just a quick note while you're watching this video, I'm not sure whether you knew, but I'm associated with a number of companies, and those companies can provide discounts to my viewers and subscribers. So all you need to do is go to adventure8.com.au. Just click on the website. Yes, just go shop discounts and you find all the different companies that I'm associated with. So for example, SwiftX, so you can set up a crypto exchange and get $10 worth of free Bitcoin. iTECHWORLD for camping, lithium batteries, backup systems for your home. REDTIGER for dash cams, BOUNUS electric bikes, and all sorts of different discount levels are available, and there are discount codes associated with each one of those, whether it be Adventure 8 or something else. So just go to the website. I hope you can take advantage of the discounts, and back to the video. What gave me doubts about this lens was that I wasn't nailing the focus sometimes, and I wasn't sure whether it was either the quality of the lens or something, and it was pretty consistent in some cases, where I was noticing some haloing effects and some less than ideally sharp photos. So I was really trying to concentrate on getting that focus right, trying to eliminate camera shake, and I was still getting some dodgy results. After getting back from my trip and doing some tests around home and whatever, and I thought, I did have a filter on it, a UV filter. And I was wondering, is that to blame? Since I did put on the UV filter soon after buying the lens, I didn't really have a chance to test the lens or the filter, if the filter was dodgy in some manner or form. And believe it or not, it was the filter. I had a number of UV filters. These are all non-Leica filters. And I tried different ones, and there was just the one UV filter. There was somehow bouncing lights between the layers of glass and the multi-coating that there was on the UV filter. So yes, it was a multi-coated filter, but still it was still changing the detail within the image enough to just take a slight level of sharpness away from what was actually in focus. So once I changed the filter, or took the filter off completely, then I was getting much better results. So that's a good thing. You know, there's a lot of YouTube videos out on reviewing and talking about the 80 to 280mm lens. This is a variable aperture lens as well, from 2.8 to f4. I do have the 24 to 90 Leica lens, the variable f2.8 to f4 lens, and that is an outstanding lens. It also has a reputation of being as good or even better than some prime focal length lenses from Leica, in fact. So I've been very happy with the 28 to 90 zoom. So after committing to the 100 to 400mm lens, I thought, did I make a mistake? Should I have used those funds to get 90 to 280mm focal length lens? Okay, there's some fundamental differences between these two lenses. The main one is price. 90 to 280 is 3 times more expensive than the 100 to 400. The 1 to 400 is a longer focal length, 400 versus 280. As far as the size is concerned, you can see that the 90 to 280 is just slightly longer. then the 100 to 400. The 90 to 280, when you zoom, it's all internal. So from a weatherproofing point of view, that is fantastic. So if you're taking it to extreme conditions, having a UV filter on it will also protect it. That's one advantage of the 90 to 280. The 100 to 400, you can see that as soon as you go to 400, it's going to get longer. If you have it at 280, the same sort of focal length as this one, you'll probably find they're probably similar in length. So, and then the other major difference between the two lenses is this one is slightly heavier, I think by about 200 grams. There'll be some details in the video. Yes, so, and the filter thread on both lenses is the same, 82 millimeters. Both lenses have a tripod mount on the lens, as you can see here. And they can be taken off, which is really good. All you have to do is just unscrew that, and then that can be taken off. Likewise with the 90 to 280, same sort of thing. This can be taken off as well. It is much bigger, and the good news is that you can take off this one here. Off the 100 to 400, and it does actually fit on the 90 to 280. So if you want to have the same sort of look, the advantage of the tripod mount on the 100 to 400 is that it is arc Swiss compatible, whereas the original one on the 90 to 280 is not, and you have to put an extra plate on there if you want to make it arc Swiss compatible. So I've set up a bit of a test scenario. I have a long corridor. I've got my test chart here, and I've got a little chart at the behind this chart, and a little chart in front of the chart, and a couple of items. And then here, right in the background on the e-bikes, I've got some LED lights, some colored lights as well. Distance between the chart and the back chart is about I don't know, 300 millimeters, 300 to 400, and also the same, about 300 to 400 millimeters between the chart and the front chart as well. And the distance between the chart and the LED lights is probably, I'd say, 3 to 4 meters. Let's go into Lightroom. And we'll look at all the different comparisons and just see what the differences are. Okay, well, let's have a look at the first images. So we're using the 90 to 280 here on the left, and the 100 to 400 on the right. And both have been set at 100 millimeters in focal length. The ISO in both cases is 200. The minimum aperture, or the maximum opening, is 5.0 for the 100 to 400, and it looks like I've got 2.9 here on the 90 to 280. If I was at 90 millimeter, then it would be 2.8. Okay, so both images like this, at this level of detail, you can't tell them apart. Now, the point that I was focusing on was this little ribbon here. So if we zoom in now, the way these photographs were taken was with RAW files, and then I had to crop them slightly to make them look, basically the frame to be exactly the same. Then I've exported the RAW file into a JPEG file and resized it so that from a megapixel point of view, they're exactly the same. So when I zoom in, they're basically the same size in both cases. So straight away, the things that you notice, as far as detail is concerned, we're zoomed in at 200% here, which is much more than you would do if you were just viewing a photograph on your screen or on your mobile device, or even if you print it, you probably still wouldn't go to this level of detail. And having the test chart here, the great thing of the test chart and having the test chart at an angle, it means that if there's If I've missed the focus for some reason or another, you'll notice it in the test chart itself. But I've pretty much nailed the focus in both cases to be exactly the same. If you look at the ribbon here and the ribbon here on both photographs, can you tell the difference? I suspect watching this on YouTube, you will definitely won't be able to tell the difference. And I'm looking at the files and I can't tell the difference either at 200%. So as far as the quality of the image, the contrast, the colors, they're pretty much identical, which is great to know, because again, the 90 to 280mm lens has such a great reputation as far as its quality is concerned, and to know that the 100 to 400 is just as sharp, colors are just as wonderful, the contrast is just as good for 1/3 of the price, which is amazing. So what's the difference? Where are the differences? Well, the differences are in the bokeh. Shot both lenses wide open, and it's the out of focus areas, that's what you're paying for if you're going to go for the 90 to 280. Being able to have a much larger aperture, wide open, you can see the difference. The bokeh balls are almost twice the size as the 100 to 400. We've got the chart here, we've got the little chart in front. You can see how there's a big difference in the out of focus area, the bokeh on the 90 to 280, and then we've got the chart in the background behind this chart, and again you can see the difference there. At 100mm you don't notice the difference between the out of focus areas too much, but you still do notice it. But the bokeh balls are a big difference in size. So we've got the 90 to 280 on the left hand side here, the 100 to 400 on the right hand side here. At 200mm focal length, so the 90 to 280 now is at f3.5, the 100 to 400 is at f5.9, wide open at these focal lengths. The ISOs change a bit, the shutter speeds change a bit, but they're pretty close to each other. Okay, let's zoom in. Quality, the detail, we zoomed in at 200% here, is outstanding in both cases. The contrast is wonderful. Do you really notice any difference? It is so hard to tell. Alright, but then back to the bokeh balls again. So the bokeh balls again twice the size, and they're getting bigger now because we're at a longer focal length. And then we look at the back chart here. You can see that's more blurry on the 90 to 280 compared to the 100 to 400 because we're at 5.9 rather than at 3.5. And then the chart in front, again you can see the difference in the bokeh there as well. So we've got the 90 to 280 on the left again at 280, and now we've got the 100 to 400 on the right, but we're at the 280 setting as well. So now we're at 6.2 f-stop, and we're at f4 f-stop for the 90 to 280. And again we've got nice beautiful bokeh balls in the back for the 90 to 280, and then we've got smaller bokeh balls at the back for the 100 to 400. But both images are looking fantastic at this image size, but again we zoom in at 200% again, and we can see that we get basically a perfect image in both cases, both for the 90 to 280 as well as the 100 to 400. Lots of detail, lots of contrast, beautiful backgrounds in both cases. Now the bokeh ball is getting really quite big at 280mm, but again they're 1.5 times larger on the 90 to 280 as you would expect. And then when we look at these charts, the chart in the background here on the 90 to 280 is more blurry than on the 100 to 400, and then the chart in the foreground, you can still see the target area on the 100 to 400, and it starts to disappear almost completely with the 90 to 280. Let's have a look at what happens when we're actually photographing at the 400mm focal length with the 100 to 400. So this is the image here. We get a nice, really strong image, nice bokeh balls. What I've done also is I've taken that same shot with the 90 to 280 and then cropped in the same amount. to give me that 400 focal length effect by cropping in. And you can see we have a very similar image. So that's the 100 to 400, that's the 90 to 280. So the 100 to 400, and if we zoom in 200%, so you can see how much detail there is, really great contrast. And then this is the 90 to 280, cropped in to have the similar focal length frame as the 100 to 400. We can have a look at those side by side. So yes, the bokeh balls are still slightly bigger on the 90 to 280, and that's at f4, and then 100 to 400 at 400 millimeter focal length at 6.3. We zoom right in at 200%, and you can see the amount of detail we have in both images, and it's very hard to tell them apart. Is one better than the other? I'm not entirely sure. But it does show how good the 100 to 400 is. It's stacking up perfectly against the 90 to 280. The bokeh balls are nice and smooth on the 90 to 280. So slightly different. You wouldn't look for those, but the colors are wonderful. Both lenses are outstanding in my opinion. I reset the camera. I wanted to see the difference in images when I focused on the different points of the frame. So I started off by focusing on the front chart, then the back chart, one behind it, then the one small chart there, and then right back to the lights. So this is the 100 to 400, and we are shooting at 262 millimeters. What I found was that 262 millimeters on the 100 to 400 gave me the same frame size as shooting at 280 on the 90 to 280. So that was just an interesting observation. Right on the front chart, very detailed, and then all the focus just drops off as you go towards the back. Now we're focusing on the middle chart. You can see how the front one drops off focus. This back one's too out of focus, and the bokeh ball's in there. And then we focus on the back chart here, and then we focus on these LED lights. And you can see that there's a lot of detail with all these lights. Okay, so I've got the 90 to 280 at 280 millimeters, so f4. And here we are, we've got the bike and the LED lights. And as we move forward in the images, we're now onto this back chart here. Nice bokeh balls with this lens, to the middle chart, and to the front chart. So we can look at those images side by side to see what they look like. Okay, side by side we've got the 90 to 280 on the left, the 100 to 400 on the right. And if we zoom in 100% on these lights, and again, they look, both images look fantastic, got a lot of detail, a lot of contrast. So we're focusing on the back chart now, 90 to 280 on the left, 100 to 400 on the right. Zoom in 100% on this back chart. The back chart looks, again, in great detail. Can't tell the difference between the two images. The only hint that there is a difference is the size of the bokeh balls. Again, on the 90 to 280, larger bokeh balls in the background compared to the 100 to 400. Other than that, both images are outstanding. Go to the next focal point here, which is the main chart here. 90 to 280 on the left, 100 to 400 on the right. Both images, again, bokeh balls are larger on the 90 to 280. But if we have a look at the detail now, again, it's pretty much on par between the two. And look at the back out of focus back chart, out of focus front chart. It is more out of focus, of course, with the 90 to 280. And then the last one, focusing on the front chart here, 90 to 280 on the left, 100 to 400 on the right. Zoom in 100%, and again we get basically the same image in both cases, the 90 to 280 as well as the 100 to 400 on the right hand side here. For completeness, I've also included another test here, the 24-90 spherical lens from Leica at 90, and also the 90-280 at 90, but at f2.8, so that we can actually see the difference between the two images. If we zoom in at 100%, we can see that the image quality is pretty much exactly the same in both cases. The 24-90 and the 90-280, both at 90mm, produces pretty much the same result in the areas that are in focus. The difference is again in the bokeh balls, because the 24-90 is at f4 setting, whereas we're at 2.8 with the 90-280, which is what you would expect. Well, I hope you found those test images useful. The conclusion is that this lens is much better than I thought it would be. In fact, I think with all the reviews that have been done on YouTube and people that I've even spoken to at Leica, this lens is underrated, the 100-400. It is, in my testing, for my use case, it is arguably as sharp as the 90-280 in my use cases. There might be other cases where you can tell the difference, but for my situation, I can't. It's very hard to tell the difference, even while pixel peeping. The big difference was particularly with my setup, because I had those LED lights in the background, those color lights. I could then see how much bokeh there was, and bokeh balls, how big those were, and what sort of image you get in that situation. Without a doubt, there is no substitute to having a fast lens, because then your bokeh is going to be really much more defined compared to the part of the image that is in focus. And the advantage of having a really fast lens is that you get this more of a 3D effect in your photograph. And that's why you're paying 3 times more for this lens compared to a much slower lens. This is f2.8-4 and this is 5-6.3, so it's 1.5 stops difference. If that bokeh is really important, well then it's a no-brainer, and you have to go for the 90-280. So, whew, I'm glad I did this test. It's given me confidence in the 100-400, particularly all the problems I was having with the filter, creating this slightly blurry, out of focus effect in my photography. But now that's been fixed, and I have tried some of those other filters, which basically you can't tell the difference between filter on or filter off, and so that setup is working well for my 100-400 lens. So the question then is, do you still get the 90-280? Well, probably in my case for now, no. If I was able to pick up a second-hand unit in great condition, then that may be something to consider. If you've got the 90-280 already, you probably find that there's no point going to the 100-400, because you can always crop your image and you get still a high quality image, and again you won't be able to tell the difference between a cropped image or just using the 100-400 lens, I think. So I guess in conclusion, if you've got one or the other lens, chances are you won't get both. And if you're flush with money and you're bored and you've got gear acquisition syndrome, then you'd probably get both as well. Does that help you? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up. That's how you support the channel. If it's the first time to my channel, you haven't already subscribed, then please do subscribe. Press subscribe, press notifications, you'll be notified when the next video is out. I am affiliated with a number of companies, and you're able to get additional discounts if you buy anything from those companies. And all those companies are listed on my website, adventure8.com.au. Just go to the shopping discount tab and you'll see all the discounts that are available. Thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers, bye.